Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're taking a pretty complex system and breaking it down into clear, actionable steps that actually make sense. We are tackling a fundamental aspect of the justice system, which is how to navigate Pennsylvania courts affordably. Look, whether you're dealing with a civil lawsuit, a family law proceeding, or maybe an appeal, the costs can be incredibly daunting. But your constitutional rights, they should absolutely never be locked behind a paywall.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today's Explainer. First, accessing justice without the cost. Second, understanding court fee waivers. Third, do you meet the criteria? Fourth, our step-by-step application guide. Fifth, overcoming common application challenges. And finally, number 6, helpful resources and next steps.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, accessing justice without the cost. We all know that court fees can quickly balloon into hundreds or honestly even thousands of dollars, and that creates a massive barrier for so many people. But did you know that navigating the legal system in Pennsylvania doesn't have to be expensive? Imagine having access to justice without worrying about court fees. In today's Explainer, we'll explore exactly how you can apply for a court fee waiver in Pennsylvania, ensuring that your financial situation won't stand in the way of your legal rights.
This right is actually baked into the very foundation of the state. Article 1, Section 11 of the Pennsylvania Constitution contains what's known as an open courts provision. It essentially mandates that all courts shall be open and that justice shall be administered without sale, denial, or delay. In plain English, poverty should never ever obstruct your ability to prosecute or defend a lawsuit.
Moving right along to Section 2, understanding court fee waivers. If you've started looking into this process, you've probably stumbled across the phrase in forma pauperis, or IFP. Well, let's just visually strike that out right now. In forma pauperis is just an overly complicated Latin phrase that simply means a fee waiver. That's it. It allows you to proceed with your case without paying those standard filing and service fees if you just don't have the financial resources to do so. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly where this right comes from today. This is a snapshot of Pennsylvania Rule of Judicial Administration 1990. Historically, this whole process was governed by a crazy patchwork of local rules that varied across all of Pennsylvania's 67 counties. But the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania recently overhauled this to create a unified statewide standard. So, PRJA 1990 is now your centralized rule guaranteeing your ability to seek a waiver of fees and costs.
Which brings us to Section 3. Do you meet the criteria?
There are essentially two primary pathways to get a fee waiver approved. You have categorical indigency on one hand, and substantial financial hardship on the other. Categorical indigency means you automatically qualify based on being enrolled in certain government poverty programs. Substantial financial hardship, though, means you might not be on government assistance, but based on a specific math test, looking at your income and assets, paying those court fees would cause you severe financial distress.
Let's look at that first pathway. If you receive needs-based public assistance, you have a really strong presumption of eligibility. We're talking about programs like SNAP, Medicaid, Supplemental Security Income, which is SSI, TANF, Section A housing, LIHEAP, or a needs-based VA pension. If you are enrolled in literally any of these, you essentially have a fast track to a waiver. Just a quick note here, this applies to SSI because it's needs-based, but not necessarily standard Social Security Disability Insurance, or SSDI.
Now, what if you aren't on any of those programs? Well, you can still qualify under the substantial financial hardship pathway. The court is going to look at your gross household income. That's your income before taxes and deductions. To qualify here, your household income has to be at or below 200% of the federal poverty guidelines for your specific household size. The court also takes a look at your assets. Under the new statewide rules, your assets must be less than $10,000. But here is a massive detail. That $10,000 limit entirely excludes your home and one vehicle. So owning a house or having a car to get to work won't automatically disqualify you from getting the financial relief you need to access the courts. It's a huge relief for a lot of folks.
All right, let's get practical with Section 4, Step-by-Step Application Guide.
The actual process really just comes down to 3 essential steps. Step 1, find the correct petition form. Step 2, complete the financial affidavit and sign the verification. And Step 3, file it with the court clerk. But there is one absolutely massive rule you have to remember here. You must ask for the fees to be waived at the exact same time you file your initial lawsuit or your answer. You can't file your papers, get hit with a huge fee, and then decide to ask for a waiver later. You've got to submit them together.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is you can see what the paperwork actually looks like in the real world. This is a sample instruction packet and petition right out of Adams County. As you can see, it requires you to list out your income, your expenses, and your financial responsibilities. And remember, it's an affidavit. That means you are swearing under penalty of perjury that the information is true. So be honest, be thorough, and whatever you do, do not just guess your numbers.
So once your paperwork is complete, where does the whole shebang actually go? Well, in Pennsylvania civil cases, it usually goes to the prothonary. I know, it's a mouthful. It's just an old-fashioned word for the civil court clerk's office. You can file it there in person, or a lot of courts now use an electronic filing system called PACFile. If you use PACFile, you just upload your waiver application right alongside your pleading, which actually lets you bypass that immediate electronic payment screen while the judge reviews your request.
Now for some troubleshooting in Section 5, Overcoming Common Application Challenges.
Listen, the absolute fastest way to get your fee waiver denied is by making silly administrative errors. Courts, like York County for instance, specifically warn that leaving questions blank will get your application rejected right out of the gate. If a question doesn't apply to you, just write NA or none. Also, failing to attach proof of your financial status is a fatal error. You absolutely must attach documents like current pay stubs, bank statements, tax returns, or your disability paperwork. An incomplete packet is a denied packet for sure.
But what happens if you do everything perfectly right and the judge still denies your petition without even speaking to you? Well, under the law, a court generally cannot deny a properly completed application without first conducting a record hearing. So if this happens, don't panic. Just respectfully contact the court clerk, explain that your paperwork was fully complete, and simply ask what you can do to have the judge reconsider the decision or schedule a proper hearing.
So the crucial point is this: getting the waiver isn't the end of your responsibility. You actually have a continuing legal obligation to inform the court if your financial circumstances improve during your case. So if you land a new high-paying job, or you win the lottery and come into a significant sum of money that allows you to pay those fees, you have to tell the court. If you don't, the court can actually rescind the waiver and penalize you.
Finally, we've made it to Section 6, Helpful Resources and Next Steps. The absolute best starting point for all of this is the official Pennsylvania Courts website at paacourts.us. They have a fantastic generic statewide form that you can use. However, as the ACLU of Pennsylvania likes to point out, many individual counties, places like Allegheny, Dauphin, and Philadelphia, they often have specific local templates they prefer you to use. So always check your local county courthouse website first. And hey, if you get confused at any point, reach out to your local legal aid services. They are absolute experts at navigating this exact process.
We definitely want to leave you with this important disclaimer. While we've outlined the unified statewide rules for you today, the law is complex, and local administrative quirks absolutely still exist from courthouse to courthouse. Procedures can and do change, so always consult with legal professionals, legal aid, or your local court officials to get personalized guidance for your very specific situation.
We've covered a ton of ground today, everything from translating dusty old Latin legal jargon to proving financial hardship. But the absolute most important takeaway is this: the Pennsylvania Constitution guarantees your right to access the courts, completely regardless of the balance in your bank account. The tools to secure that access are right in front of you. So, your constitutional right to the courts is guaranteed. What steps will you take today to secure your access to justice? Thanks for joining us on this explainer, and we will catch you next time.